Welcome back to Forward Progress presented by Fanduel. It's our way too early division preview, starting with the NFC West. I'm your host here, Jace Cooper, alongside Judah Forking. And throughout these next couple of days, next couple of weeks, leading up to the draft, we're going to be going through every single division in the NFL. We're going to be talking about whose stock is up, whose stock is down, what they might need coming into the draft, and what we like currently on the board that is available on Fanduel. So before we get started in the video, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe as well if you're interested in some super early division previews. Today we're starting with the NFC West, Judah, and I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. We got to start with the top. Just quickly looking at the board right now, the San Francisco 49ers plus 150 to win the division, Los Angeles Rams plus 185. Then towards the back, you have the Seahawks at plus 490 and the Cardinals at plus 500. So we're going to go through each team here. You're going to tell me stock up, stock down, starting with the Niners. They had a lot of losses this year on defense, moved on from Deebo Samuel. I mean, their new OC, new DC. A lot of change has come through the 49ers this year. So give me your opinion on their offseason and if they're sort of stock up or stock down for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's stock up relative to where they finished last season. That's like a team that did not come close to sniffing the playoffs. But I think relative to kind of the market and just like general perception, probably still down. Like this is a team that, as you said, like they atrophied a lot on defense. They lost Charvarius Ward, they lost Greenlaw, they lost Fonga. Like these are some key pieces of a defense that already was kind of regressing from some of the Niners defenses of years past. And there are a lot of question marks on offense as well. Brandon Ayuk is coming off a major injury, not even sure he'll be back for the start of the season. Juwan Jennings did a great job kind of in that wide receiver one role last season, but there are a lot of question marks. And this is a fragile team, I think. Even like Christian McCaffrey's got so many injuries he's dealing with. And as you said, a lot of uncertainty with the coaching. All of that uncertainty just kind of has me stock down relative, I think, to the market, though. I do think that this is still going to be a better team than they finished record-wise last year, just because of how poorly they ran on the injury front. And like they still have Kyle Shanahan, and that I think is one of the most important assets of anyone in any NFL organization.
Absolutely. They definitely have some sort of floor with Shanahan in there. Right now, their win total on FanDuel is lined at 10.5. Slight juice to the over at minus 115. Again, we get it. It's super early out. There's still the draft to go. I think they have 11 draft picks this year in the draft. So there could be a lot of change down the pipeline for the San Francisco 49ers. But I think I'm in agreement with you with the stock up from last year, but stock down in terms of market sentiment. Let's get to the second team on the list here, the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, two big acquisitions in the offseason, getting Davante Adams, getting Poona Ford, losing Cooper Kupp. They were able to keep Matt Stafford. So same question here, Judah, stock up or stock down?
Yeah, I think stock kind of neutral here to cheat a little bit. I think this is a team that's been pretty much with, especially with Nakua on the field, has been like a pretty solid 10-ish win team, I think, from like if we're looking at a futures rating perspective. I think that's kind of what they are now. Like Adams, probably a small upgrade over Kupp. The defense, like, had a huge overhaul last year, and like Jared Verse, and seems like he's a legit edge player, and kind of like filling in for the production they had on the defensive line with Aaron Donald. You mentioned Poona Ford, like that's a huge addition. Again, it's not a team that's going to overwhelm you, I think, as a dominant one, but they still should be very, very solid. They still have Stafford at quarterback. He's still slinging it. Puka Nacua is one of the best receivers in football. The offensive line's in a pretty decent spot. I think this is just a solid team that the market has pretty much right.
Yeah, and plus 185 right now to win their division on FanDuel. Regular season win total right now is lined at 9.5. Heavy juice towards the over, minus 145 to the over 9.5 wins, plus 125 to the under. And I think I'm going to echo what you mentioned for the Niners. They have Sean McVay. So there's the floor here, no matter what, right? No matter what happens with the team, Sean McVay plus Matt Stafford. There's some form of baseline for this team. Before we get into the next two teams, it might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on the NFL draft and NFL futures, FanDuel is the place to go for that action. We're taking a look at NFL division futures right now, but they have so much more offseason props. They have NFL draft props. They have award props. They have passing props, receiving props, rushing props. If you think one of your favorite quarterbacks is going to hit his over on 4,000 yards in the season, you can bet it on FanDuel. And as well, this year, you can parlay regular season win totals, can make some very nifty parlays with that. Super interesting for me. Going to be attacking that. Just visit fanduel.com/forward progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's fanduel.com/forward progress. Up next, the Seattle Seahawks and the team that I'm most interested in this division. Our boy Clint Kubiak. Can we call him our boy? Is that okay if I call him our boy?
Our boy for like 4 games last year before everything went down.
Before everything went south. Yeah, Clint Kubiak joins new OC. I mean, seismic shift on their offense, swapping Sam Darnold for Geno Smith, Cooper Kupp for DK Metcalf. Same question here. Stock up or stock down for the Seattle Seahawks?
I think it's stock down. I mean, like, I thought the Geno Smith move in isolation was great, and it almost seems like they kind of just hit reverse by going to Sam Darnold there. A puzzling move, I think. So we know what type of quarterback Sam Darnold is, which is like if you give him an ideal situation, he's like extremely situation dependent, and is like could have some success, but there's a floor to that. He's not going to elevate you, and certainly not in like negative game states. We saw that in the last 2 games, really, against the Lions and in that wild card game against the Rams, where when you're not playing from a lead, he's not the same quarterback, and when you're not throwing to Justin Jefferson and have Kevin O'Connell calling plays. I love Kubiak. I think he's a great offensive coordinator, and even if Seattle does improve the offensive line over the course of the draft, like this projects as one of the worst units in football. They were a disaster last season. They don't have a lot of talent on the outside. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba does look like a great receiver, but it kind of falls off from there. I don't think Cooper Kupp has much left, and I just have concerns about Sam Darnold's ability to lead an offense, even if Kubiak is really good. And like, I think the path to a ceiling here is like he kind of fixes the offensive line to some extent. That's kind of what he did in New Orleans in the beginning of last season. The defense, I think, should be good. And Mike McDonald's done a great job of defense over the last bunch of years. They added some nice pieces there. So I think they could stay relevant as like a team in the 7 to 9 win conversation, which is where the market has them priced. But I really think this is an offense that can struggle a lot, especially this season. And I'm selling any of the kind of goodwill of Sam Darnold. To me, maybe it's a hot take. It's like Sam Darnold is Daniel Jones of 2022. It's the same story, I think.
Wow.
Or like there's a little bit of bias towards like the fact that he was had a very good season, but like we know what type of quarterback he is. And that's not one that I think is even close to above average.
Right now, Seattle Seahawks plus 490 on FanDuel to win the division. And listen, if you're selling, I'm buying. I want to buy the Seattle Seahawks this offseason. Listen, not saying because you're selling, but if you think it's stocked down for them, I want to scoop up all of that. I just think that they're, like you said, their defense is so good that they could fat tail if things go right. I believe in Kubiak. I believe in Darnold. Obviously, USC bias here, but I believe in those guys. So, I mean, if I'm going to believe in them and I think their defense is going to be good, I'm hoping for that little slight fat tail up. 8.5 is their win total right now, plus 110 to the over, juice towards the under at minus 130. Let's get into our last team here, the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, it's been 2 years under Jonathan Gannon now, same kind of regime. Haven't seen much movement. This should be the year for them, but they're currently priced with the worst odds on the board at plus 500, and they're the worst in terms of regular season win total within their division at 8.5, around similar to what the Seahawks are. Tell me, stock up, stock down, stock neutral. What's going on with the Cardinals?
Yeah, stock neutral. I think you had it right. Like this is year 3 now. They've seen some slight improvement from year 1 to year 2. And I think Gannon's probably a fine coach, but they still have so many holes. I mean, this is like they've got Trey McBride's one of the best tight ends in the NFL and is like a real legit weapon. I mean, you want Marvin Harrison to develop. I think he was a little bit of a disappointment from what like we would have assumed coming into last season. I think and that isn't to say that he can't get there in year 2, but from what he showed in year 1, it's not that kind of immediate wide receiver 1. And like there's potential, but it's not there yet. Michael Wilson's a fine player. Dork's a fine player. But that's kind of the story of the Cardinals. It seems like they have a bunch of fine players. On defense, they shine. Josh Sweat, one of the premier free agents. Like, he's a good edge. I don't think he's we got to like know our tiers, though. He's not a game wrecker. He's not TJ Watt. He's not Micah Parsons. He's not Myles Garrett. He's in a tier way below these guys. It's like a nice piece to have, but they've got weak links throughout the secondary. They don't have much depth on the defensive line. Again, like the draft is going to determine a lot here too. But from where things currently stand, it's like they're kind of just meh. Like maybe they can catch some positive variance and sneak into the playoffs. But I'd be pretty surprised if this is a team that's going very far.
Yeah, like I mentioned off the top here, bottom of the board, plus 500 to win the division. They're floundering right now, is what it seems like. They've just been floundering, and there's nothing really more that they can do. Last question before we head out here, Judah. Is there anything you'd like on the board? Maybe snap gun to your head type of scenario. If you were to pick a division winner at the given odds, what would you kind of pick and why?
I think it's the Rams if I had to pick. It's not that I'm necessarily interested in making now. I just think they have such a high floor relative to the rest of the division. And like there is some ceiling just by virtue of like having Sean McVay. And like this is a very young defense. And sure, defense is less predictable over time, but like it also would not be unfathomable for these guys to get a lot better. And for Jared Verse to go from kind of that like tier 2, 3 to being a complete game wrecker, and like that matters a lot for your defense. I think this is just a solid team, and the rest of the division's a lot of question marks, I think, especially given the kind of credence the market's giving to the Niners when things might be coming off a bit there.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I kind of tipped my hat beforehand. Seattle Seahawks for me plus 490. Just gonna take a swing at my USC guy and hope I come out on top here. But anyways, that wraps it up. That wraps it up for us here today. If you like the content, please do us a favor, smash that like button, subscribe for more. We got tons of videos coming out very soon. And also, I want to hear your thoughts. Tell us who you think is going to win the NFC West and what you would bet right now at the given odds. I'm always curious to hear what the chat has to say about this. So chat, do your thing. Drop those comments down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.